Leading local tonight in our top story, as farming practices continue to grow and evolve, taking a deeper look into the soil can assist in the preservation and life of local crops. KX's Adrienne Oglesby focuses this week on nitrogen here in the Peace Garden State.
Welcome back to Adrienne's KX Chemistry Lab for another lesson. So far, we've learned about phosphorus and potassium as it relates to our state's soil and crops. This week's highlighted element is nitrogen. Nitrogen is in the soil under our feet, in the water we drink, and in the air that we breathe. Nitrogen is also a chemical element with the symbol N and atomic number 7. But as always, the million-dollar question, how does it affect and contribute to our soil and crops? Well, my buddy and soil scientist, Chris Augustin, is back and in the lab with the answers. Let's shoot over to him.
Well, nitrogen is an essential nutrient. It's the one that we're most concerned about, mainly because that's the one we invest the most amount of money or inputs into. One of the things about nitrogen is it is very common in our environment. 78% of the air that we breathe is nitrogen. However, plants can't take up that nitrogen. And so that's why we use things like manure and fertilizer, and also our legume crops, which have the ability to fix atmospheric nitrogen, are important to our cropping systems.
When nitrogen is in the soil, it is known as nitrate. Augustin says crops such as soybeans, field beans, chickpeas, and alfalfa don't need nitrogen at all, but our small grains such as wheat, barley, and corn do. He also says nitrogen is actually difficult to manage.
78% in the atmosphere, it's a very leaky nutrient. And so if you're doing a good job with your fertility practices and your nutrient management, maybe 40% of what you apply to the ground actually gets into the crop. And that's because it just wants to get back into the atmosphere as that dinitrogen gas, that N2 or that 78% of the air that we breathe.
Being that nitrate is difficult to manage, how can we preserve it and deal with it best? As in the past, Augustin tells us soil testing is very important, but for nitrogen, it is not the only solution.
But what we can do is improve soil organic matter content. And by doing that, there's a lot of nitrogen in these organic compounds. It's the basis of amino acids and proteins. And over time, if we do things like no-till, using high carbon crops and diverse rotations that have high and low carbon nitrogen ratios, we can slowly build up organic matter. Integrating livestock into a crop production system is another way to help increase organic matter.
Augustin shares that here, North Dakotans have the ability to use the NDSU crop nitrogen calculator for assistance.
Several variables in the soil, such as your soil test, which we've been doing that for a number of years, and I think most producers have a good understanding of that. But with our crop nitrogen calculator, with how costly it is, it takes into account the cost of that fertilizer, as well as what the cost of the commodity is, or what you're hoping to make when you sell that grain from your field.
Increasing organic matter can help slowly build those nitrogen pools, so over time as it builds up, we can eventually use it and benefit from it. Without nitrogen, there is no chlorophyll. Without chlorophyll, there is no photosynthesis, and we need photosynthesis to make food. In other words, without nitrogen, we aren't able to feed the world, and there would also be a lack of cash flow. Well, ding, again, I forgot my watch, but you know that bell means it's my time. Until next week, from the KX Chemistry Lab, I'm Adrienne Oglesby.
Next week, Adrienne will break down her last element in our series, carbon.